और नवाचार को बढ़ावा देते हैं। With this, I now invite Shri Amardeep Singh Bhatia ji, Secretary DPIIT, to share his insights and deliver the welcome address. Welcome, sir.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister of State, members of the organizing committee for the Bharat Mahakumbh, other officers and dignitaries on the dais, members of the Startup Advisory Committee in the audience, startup representatives, media, ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here on the uh, ninth anniversary, or we have completed 9 years on this day. The Startup India Action Plan, the Startup India movement, if we would like to call it a movement, was started on this day in 2016 by the Honorable Prime Minister. And since then, we have, this is only part of the entire ecosystem that has developed. There's a large ecosystem, as Sanjeev was saying, which is connected to us today through the web, and they are all on account of this grand program which was launched by the government and which has benefited people at large in this country. We launched a number of initiatives in 2016 as part of the action plan. There were 3 schemes. I would like to highlight about those also. There was this scheme about fund of fund scheme, through which we had funded alternate investment funds, which has uh, helped in development of a large ecosystem for funding startups, for providing startups the needed funds. We have around 230, we have around 21,000 crore of funds which have been provided to startups through this fund of funds, based on a corpus of around 5,000 crores which has been dispersed till now, and around a 10,000 overall which will be dispersed over a period of time, which is a huge impetus, which has created an ecosystem for AIFs. It's not only the AIFs within those which are funded through the fund of fund scheme, but also beyond that, which has developed and has provided the necessary funding for the startups. We have the seed fund scheme also, through which we have around 230 incubators which have been funded, which again have connected to a large number of startups and have helped the startups develop, have provided the necessary infrastructure to the startups, have provided the required facilities needed for them to grow. We also have the capital guarantee scheme, through which again we have provided through the National Credit Guarantee and Trusted Company the required credit guarantee required by startups for availing loans. So this has enabled financial institutions to provide loans to startups, which again has helped us startups to develop. So these are three schemes which have also enabled the other departments of the government to launch similar schemes, which has again acted as a multiplier for startups. There are a number of regulatory changes, around 62 of them one can count, which have been also put in place, which have helped in reducing the compliance burden which the startups have to face in the initial years when they are functioning. It's also eased in accessing finance for the startups and thereby helping them develop. We have a number of, as I mentioned, a number of other schemes. It's not only this set of things which has happened, but number of other schemes which have been launched during this period. The Atal Innovation Mission is one. The BIRAC scheme is another. The electronic sector, there's a separate scheme. Department of Space had launched its own scheme. Science and Technology has its own scheme. The IDEX, which is through the Department of Defense, also has helped startups in grow. So this is quite a lot of work which has been done, resulting in a large ecosystem of around 150,000 startups, which we have at this point of time. A number of them have grown very big. We call them unicorns, but the impact on society is much larger in the form of uh, it encouraging entrepreneurship, it encouraging our youth to look at entrepreneurship also as an option, which is a huge mindset change which has happened on account of these initiatives. Looking forward, we have a number of things which, as a government, we are looking at how this system should grow. Uh, we have a lot of our startups as of now working, developing services. Software as a service is the area which most of them have grown, have worked in. But we'd like to see the remaining spectrum in which startups can work, whether it is in in bringing out products, new products in the manufacturing space, or in deep tech space. In the next 10 years, uh, how many of these areas can we cover is something we will be looking forward to. We also would like to deepen the impact which incubators can have, deepen the impact which incubators can have on startups by providing greater support to them. We would also like to link companies, as Sanjeev mentioned. We are trying to promote that, push that. We would like to link companies, larger companies with startups, uh, uh, pushed companies to uh, pose their problems to startups in order to develop, in order to solve their problems, in order to develop new products for companies, and in the process develop themselves, as well as not only by becoming vendors but also becoming big. And in becoming big, we should have big ambitions. We should have companies which are uh, uh, big on the global scale, big not only at the India level. We should. Yesterday, I was discussing with one of the startup advisory council members. Maybe not a Google, but at least the next level. We should have those companies, which is what we should be aiming for. And with that, I would like to thank all of you again for coming here. I would like to thank our honorable minister and MOS and others also who are present here today for this function. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for outlining the path forward for our brighter future. As we gather to celebrate 9 incredible years of the Startup India initiative, it's important to reflect on our journey from humble beginnings to becoming one of the world's most dynamic startup ecosystems. Today, we are excited to unveil a special video that captures this journey. It celebrates the milestones, the innovations, the innovators, and the impact Startup India has had on businesses, communities, and individuals. May I kindly request to unveil the video commemorating 9 transformative years of the Startup India initiative. Here we go.
I run a startup. ये कहने में फील तो बहुत आता है, पर एक सच ये भी है कि
पहले हमें नो सुनने की आदत हो गई थी। स्कूल में जब भी कुछ नया करने जाते तो नो।
कॉलेज के बाद पापा को जॉब के बदले बिजनेस करने को कहा तो
नो। इन्वेस्टर्स के पास गए तो नो।
फिर ये सब बदला जब प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी ने स्टार्टअप कल्चर को कहा यस।
देश के नौजवानों ने जॉब सीकर से ज्यादा जॉब क्रिएटर बनने का रास्ता चुना।
इसके बाद देश के कोने कोने से एंटरप्रेन्योर्स निकलने लगे। आईटी, हेल्थ केयर, लाइफ साइंसेस,
एजुकेशन और एग्रीकल्चर जैसे क्षेत्रों में भी स्टार्टअप्स खुलने लगे।
महिलाओं ने भी दी भागीदारी, 48% से अधिक स्टार्टअप की संभाली जिम्मेदारी।
और सिर्फ 9 सालों में ही भारत को दुनिया का तीसरा सबसे बड़ा स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम बना दिया।
तभी तो आज 28 राज्यों और 3 केंद्र शासित प्रदेशों की अपनी स्टार्टअप पॉलिसी है। पहले जहां ना के बराबर यूनिकॉर्न थे, वहीं आज 100 से ज्यादा यूनिकॉर्न है। देश भर में पहले जहां मुट्ठी भर स्टार्टअप्स थे, वहीं आज 1,57,000 से भी ज्यादा स्टार्टअप्स हैं, जिसमें से करीब आधे स्टार्टअप्स टीयर 2 और टीयर 3 शहरों में है। स्टार्टअप से 17 लाख से ज्यादा लोगों को डायरेक्ट जॉब्स मिले हैं।
स्टार्टअप को बिना किसी परेशानी के लोन और सपोर्ट देने के लिए स्टार्टअप इंडिया सीड फंड, क्रेडिट गारंटी स्कीम और फंड्स ऑफ फंड स्कीम जैसी योजनाएं चल रही हैं।
स्टार्टअप्स को करीब 13 लाख करोड़ रुपए की फंडिंग मिली है।
जीईएम पोर्टल के माध्यम से उन्हें पारदर्शी तरीके से गवर्नमेंट ऑर्डर्स भी मिल रहे हैं।
विभिन्न मंत्रालय आइडियाज, इनोवेशन और उद्यमशीलता को बढ़ावा दे रहे हैं।
अटल इनोवेशन मिशन, समृद्ध, एसटीपीआई, निधि, रफ्तार, आइडेक्स जैसी स्कीम्स चला रहे हैं।
और ये सब कुछ हो रहा क्योंकि देश ने हम पर भरोसा किया।
अब हम भी देश को विकसित बनाकर ही दम लेंगे। स्टार्टअप इंडिया के 9 साल, फ्रॉम नो टू यस के 9 साल।
As we celebrate 9 years of Startup India, data has been crucial in guiding decisions and identifying trends. We are excited to launch Prabhav, powering a resilient and agile Bharat for the advancement of visionary startups. एक फैक्ट बुक जो भारत के स्टार्टअप पारिस्थितिकी तंत्र के विकास को ट्रैक करता है. It highlights sectoral growth, regional developments, and the rise of women-led startups promoting inclusivity. I now invite our Honorable Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, to unveil the Prabhav Fact Book as part of our National Startup Day celebrations with a click of a button.
This National Startup Day, we proudly present Prabhav, the ultimate guide to India's thriving startup ecosystem and its phenomenal growth story. Since its inception in 2016, the Startup India initiative has catalyzed an ecosystem that's shaping a new India. With over 1.5 lakh startups recognized, Prabhav reflects the depth of India's entrepreneurial journey. These startups have collectively generated over 17 lakh jobs, fueling economic growth across the nation. 51% of recognized startups hail from Tier 2 and 3 cities, proving that innovation thrives beyond metros. Prabhav highlights the rise of women entrepreneurs, with 48% of startups having at least one woman director. Dive into insights on high growth sectors and regional trends that are reshaping industries and communities. Prabhav concisely captures the achievements of every region. Explore Prabhav, your definitive guide to the success and strides of India's visionary startups. Together, let's fuel innovation and empower dreams.
To strengthen public-private partnerships and bridge the gap between corporates and startups, we are enabling startups to address real-world challenges with innovative solutions. We have received unique problem statements from over 20 esteemed entities covering diverse sectors such as renewable energy, elder care, food technology, robotics, blockchain, and manufacturing. Thank you to all our corporate partners who are present with us here today. I now request the Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Shri Piyush Goyal, sir, to officially launch the Bharat Startup Grand Challenge, fostering innovation, collaboration across sectors and industries.
In every corner of India, innovation pulses through the stream. 9 years ago, Startup India sparked a revolution, igniting dreams and unleashing innovation. Today, we are writing the next chapter of that story. Introducing the Bharat Startup Grand Challenge, a transformative initiative commemorating Startup India's 9th Foundation Day. 20 industry titans and innovators are opening their doors to tomorrow's visionaries, creating opportunities for innovative minds to solve real-world business challenges. From renewable energy to blockchain, from smart manufacturing to agri-tech, from healthcare tech to robotics, from clean tech to experiential travel, from semiconductors to social commerce. The possibilities are endless. Bridging the gap between corporates and startups, the Bharat Startup Grand Challenge offers procurement opportunities for startups along with cash prizes, unprecedented access to funding, mentorship, networking, and capacity building resources. This is more than just a competition. It's a launchpad for innovation in New India. By National Startup Day 2026, we aim to unleash 75 groundbreaking challenges across different sectors, driving innovation in every corner of India's technological landscape. As we celebrate a decade of growth, the Startup India initiative powers ahead with groundbreaking initiatives, from the Startup Mahakumbh to manufacturing support, from Bhaskar's ecosystem mapping to empowering entrepreneurs across all districts in the country. Together, let's unlock India's next decade of innovation.
Thank you, Honorable Sir. Now, may I please invite Sri Sanjay Bigchandani ji, member of the National Startup Advisory Council, to address us. He is a pioneer in the Indian startup ecosystem and a driving force behind many of its milestones. His experience as the founder of InfoEdge and his deep involvement with the National Startup Advisory Council has been instrumental in shaping the future of Indian entrepreneurship. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. I began my career, my working career in 1984. That's about 41 years ago, in Delhi in a private company in advertising. And the business environment, and I look back on it 40 years ago to now, it's a sea change, it's a revolution, it's completely transformed, right? But when I look and I go granular, what I see is that a lot of the buzz, a lot of the growth, a lot of the investment, a lot of the increase in employment has come from industries and sectors that either did not exist or barely existed 40 years ago. The IT services sector barely existed. Mobile telephony did not exist. The internet did not exist. Organized retail did not exist. Private sector airlines did not exist. Private sector insurance companies did not exist. Private sector banks barely existed. Right? So sector after sector, company after company did not exist. Infosys and HCL, for instance, were startups then. They are giant companies today, accounting for market cap, India's brand, lots of employment. So what's the message? What's the learning that I get? That startups matter. That startups are central to India's growth and India's growth story. Because the giant companies of today, some of them were startups 40 years ago, which tells me that some of the giant companies of tomorrow will come from the startups of today. Now, this is not a one election 5-year thing. This is a 30, 40-year thing. Right? And this government has recognized that and has come out with Startup India, a positive program to ensure, to enable startups to get ahead. And that will make a huge difference over the next decades to come. But how has it come about? It's come about because of what's happened in the ecosystem. There are enough entrepreneurs who are trying. There's enterprise. There's talent to work with the entrepreneurs to help make things happen. There's capital availability. I think one of the best things the government did was to set up the SIDBI fund of funds to invest in venture capital, in Indian venture capital funds. And I think that was a great development because it kickstarted the venture capital industry in India. So capital is important. India is a large market, always was a large market, but it's getting larger and larger as we grow. So market is there. Available technology. And a lot of the new stuff that we have done is tech-enabled. Right? And finally, government policy and regulation. Without that, all of this growth would not have been possible. So the startup ecosystem has evolved. The startup ecosystem has continues to evolve. I remember in my class in business school, class of 175, 180, maybe if you asked a poll that class and you asked them how many of you would like to be entrepreneurs at some point of time in your careers, maybe 10 or 15 hands would go up. So less than 10%. Today, if you ask that question, it's maybe 30 to 40%. So entrepreneurship has become a mainstream career aspiration. More importantly, it is socially acceptable for an educated young person from a middle class family where normally, in my generation, we were brought up to be risk averse and look for jobs. Entrepreneurship has become a mainstream career aspiration. And I think that is the biggest difference in the ecosystem. So I'll stop here. I could go on. But I think what we are seeing today in the entrepreneurship ecosystem is a sea change. And last year, when we did Startup Mahakumbh for the first time, we felt that it was time and the ecosystem was large enough, and there are enough, a few lakh startups out there that you can actually have an event of this scale and magnitude, so that everybody in the startup ecosystem comes together, founders, investors, government comes together, and in a confluence that helps make things happen even better. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we are privileged to have with us Shri Sanjay Nair, another distinguished member of the National Startup Advisory Council. With extensive experience in the financial and investment landscape, Shri Nair has been a key player in shaping India's funding ecosystem, supporting startups and fostering their growth. Sir, may I please request you to share your thoughts on the evolving funding landscape?
Thank you. Honorable ministers, thank you for being here today. Unlike Sanjeev, who gave you the beginning of his career, I'm giving you the end of my career, where I've gotten into startup funding and venture capital. So it just tells you how exciting the space is. I just want to make 3 points about the evolution of the funding ecosystem. I think it's not by accident that at the end of 9 years and the beginning of our 10th year of Startup India, we're here by accident. It's the confluence of the policymakers, the entrepreneurs, and the investors. And I think we have to acknowledge, which Sanjeev just mentioned, that one of the most catalytic thing was the Prime Minister gave body to the whole vision by creating Startup India as an initiative and institutionalize the whole thing. I think that is very critical. And then supported by obviously the respective ministry and DPIT. It has been an incredible journey, but you cannot take away the fact that the most catalytic moment was that when you gave a fund of funds of 10,000 crores to SIDBI, who have used, I think, seeing from outside and now in bit from inside as well, the most advanced methods of rating and risk rating every fund manager they have backed. And they have, I think, committed about 11,000 crores and they've raised about 92,000 on the back of that in the respective funds. So as you look at the end of this 9 years, you have 1,55 startups. You have 1,150 to 1,200 AIFs, Cat 1 and Cat 2. And I think that's a great way. But when I look at what can be achieved, I don't want to talk about China, but the fact is my numbers indicate their local fund industry is 100x of our side. So if we are 1,200 AIFs, I think we need to get to at least 24,000. And how's it going to come about? I think we have to stop depending on the government and giving us various schemes. Thankful to Secretary Bhatia for having done the seed fund, the catalytic SFS fund. Then you have the Great Guarantee Scheme. I think it's up to a lot of us to inculcate high net worth capital, corporate balance sheets, local pension and private, and get local fund managers to catalyze the industry, because there's no way you can depend only upon foreign capital. The world is going to become much insular, I think. We have to look out for ourselves. So that's the second point I want to make. And the third one is, all of us in the funding ecosystem, we have to keep our eyes and ears open to what's happening in the world and what our entrepreneurs need. We were talking the other day, timely exits by funds need secondary funds. We should be thinking about secondary funds, which I know SIDBI is thinking about, and thank you for that. Because if you don't have secondary funds or continuing funds, you're going to force the AIFs to take shorter term decisions when actually the underlying investments need a much longer runway. Secondly, you must remember entrepreneurs end up diluting themselves at the growth stage. Venture debt has to be critical. So if I look at the evolution of where we are today and where we are going, I think we have a lot of work to do. I think we have a very supportive government and a very supportive department, but a lot of it depends upon us in India to really rejuvenate and keep growing from here. Because in absolute terms, we look pretty impressive at the end of 9 years, but compared to the world, I think we're pretty small. And if entrepreneurship and startups are going to be the progress of the nation, which I think is right, then I think we have a lot of work to do more on the funding ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. The Indian startup funding ecosystem has seen significant growth driven by a supportive environment for innovation and entrepreneurship. Building on that, we now turn our focus to the remarkable journey and impact of Startup Mahakumbh. With this, I now call upon Shri Prashant Prakash, Member National Startup Advisory Council, to take us through the journey of Startup Mahakumbh, the exciting prospects that lie ahead for this mega extravaganza of startups in India. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Honorable ministers on the dais, secretaries, and other dignitaries on the dais. I want to take us back to maybe 15, 18 months ago when a chance conversation between Honorable Minister Piyush ji here and Sanjay Bigchandani. And the conversation was, how is it that for a country that has a lack of startups, and the kind of growth we have seen in this ecosystem, we don't have a single event that showcases our ecosystem. And Sanjay Bigchandani said, you know what, we should think of something like this here. And all these kind of dreams need an audacious backer. And that's when Piyushji said, yeah, let's do something. And that's how Startup Mahakumbh was born. So, and believe it or not, last year we just had 45 days to execute on it. And we pulled, thanks to a great collaborative effort with Sanjeev ji from DPIIT and various members of the National Startup Advisory Council, we were able to pull off a show that surprised a lot of people. So we have now something that we have to surpass from the benchmark we set last year. What was special last year was that for the first time, one could come to a startup show and see sectorally discrete pavilions. This had never been done in India. So we had 8 pavilions, and this year we will hopefully have 12 to 14 pavilions. You will see pavilions in emerging areas, which hitherto 10 years ago, if you had told me in India, you would see startups in precision manufacturing, delivering parts and products for Boeing and Airbus. Airbuses across the world. You would have said no way. And that's something that we want to, say is real in India today. If we looked at 10 years ago, would we have the Indian startup ecosystem be as privatized to be able to participate in space tech? You would have said, no, I don't think we would see much in the space tech. So you will see a lot of these emerging pavilions in the startup ecosystem. What's in it for the founders? I think it's about having exposure to investors from not only India, but investors from across the world. So we expect to have more than 300 to 500 investors from a broad spectrum of angel, venture funds, and private equity investors from across India, and about 50. We are targeting pavilions from about 50 countries. But the big message that we want to people to take away is that it's just not an event. It's about showcasing Bharat's capabilities to be an innovation hub, not only for India. We are not just about import substitution. Innovation goes way beyond to be able to deliver quality and high precision innovative products for the rest of the world. So look forward to seeing you all in a Startup Mahakumbh this year, the biggest and the grandest startup show in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your valuable perspective. We eagerly anticipate the second edition of Startup Mahakumbh in April 2025. We are deeply honored to have the Honorable Minister of Commerce and Industry, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, with us today. Sir, may we kindly request you and the respected members on the dais to launch Startup Mahakumbh and set the stage for this transformative event.
स्टार्टअप की दुनिया के आप सभी साथियों का इस महाकुंभ में होना बहुत मायने रखता है। आज का युवा अब डॉक्टर इंजीनियर के साथ साथ एक इनोवेटर बनने का सपना, अपने स्टार्टअप का सपना भी देखने लगे।
So we thank you for your invaluable guidance and vision that made today's launch possible. We now invite Honorable Minister of State for Commerce and Industry and Electronics and Information Technology, Sri Jitendra Prasad, sir, to deliver a special address. With his leadership and vision, Sri Prasad has been instrumental in driving India's digital economy and startup ecosystem. Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Very good evening to all of you. And I'm very happy that I'm here at this event with my Honorable Senior Minister, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, our Secretary of our department, Mr. Amardeep Bhatia ji, our Joint Secretary, Shri Sanjeev, who's been working tirelessly for this event. And we have other leading lights of the startup ecosystem on the dais, whose words we just heard. And in front of me, I can see on the placards, there's VIPs, the industry partners, and there are some stakeholders, and above all, the ecosystem family of the startups, the youth who are in this hall, where your presence and the energy reflects so much on stage we could make out as I was speaking to my senior minister. And today, the launch of the challenge, and of course, the celebrating the Startup Day on the 9th anniversary itself is a big achievement. And it's solely the vision of our Prime Minister, who has seen this from the very first day. And today we complete 9 years, which just goes to show that a lot has been achieved, but a lot has to be achieved as well in years to come. And with the presence that I can see in this hall and the energy that I see, and the experts whose views we've just heard, and especially Mr. Sanjay Nair, who has said there's a very supportive government and there's a very supportive department. But I must tell you, there's a more dynamic minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal, who will ensure, because I've been working with him and amount of he's a tough taskmaster, and he will leave no stone unturned to ensure that the vision of the Prime Minister is fulfilled, and we do ensure that the schemes that have been put in place, which Mr. Bhatia has outlined about seed funding to the credit system and the post what we are doing with SIDBI, apart from the other schemes that he has mentioned, which I won't go into detail, but my own intent is that these schemes and these opportunities should go beyond the boundaries of the big cities that we are in, and in these gatherings. And unless and until the person on the last mile in the village does get the benefits of our schemes, our mission is not complete. And India has got huge talent. It's only about the opportunity. And the government is very much committed that we do ensure that the talent is explored, the startup ecosystem gets to a new level, and we do come out with those earth-shattering, earth-breaking solutions, which will have worldwide ramifications. And I'm sure, together with our leading experts on stage and the people right in front of us, together we will ensure that we do some transformative measures and initiatives which will take up the startup industry, the ecosystem to the next level. And with that, my minister is just going to speak. Usually what happens is speeches are prepared in the same section. So when the MOS speaks, the cabinet does not. But he has got his own speeches. So he has so much to offer that he writes his own speeches and his own and on the spur of the moment. So I think it deserves a big clap. Trust me. So, apart from ease of doing business to facilitating other initiatives, the government has been very proactive. And with that, my best wishes. There is a Mahakumbh happening in Prayagraj as we speak, which is the largest spectacle in the world. And there will be another Mahakumbh in April, which will again, the world will see what India has to offer with the Prime Minister's leadership there. And with those words, my best wishes to all of you. And I can see some leading lights, Mr. Gupta and Shweta, and who I know, and many I don't, but I will in time to come. And I can assure you that I will be that medium which you need at any point of time to further your cause and this startup ecosystem to go further. I will be there as a part of the government to help in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now request Honorable Union Minister of Commerce and Industry, Shri Piyush Goyal ji, for his keynote address. हमारे देश में स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम को सशक्त बनाने में आपके मार्गदर्शन के लिए धन्यवाद, सर. Sir, we warmly welcome you on stage.
Thank you very much, Jiten, for your words of caution. I think I'll have to change my style. Though, of course, Prashant put cold water on that. He said, no, don't change your style. So, on my right, I'm being advised that I'm being very harsh. On my left, I'm being advised I should continue to drive. I don't know. We'll have to take a vote on it. What do you believe? Should I continue to be tough taskmaster or should I be a little softer and nice to everybody? Are you all tough taskmasters in your businesses and your startups? That was a very muted yes. Delighted to have my colleague Jitendra Prasad with me today, Secretary DPIIT, Mr. Bhatia, Additional Secretary and CEO of GEM, Mr. Satya Srinivas, my colleague and Joint Secretary in the Ministry, and somebody who's so enthusiastic about his work and always encouraging to think big, think bold, Mr. Sanjeev. We are delighted to have with us Mr. Manoj Mital, the CMD of SIDBI, who's just taken over from Mr. Raman and will continue to support the startup funding ecosystem through all the various government initiatives. We have with us Sumit Jarangal in the ministry, who actually deals with most of the work that Astha and her team in Startup India are pursuing. We have with us Prashant, who's really been at the forefront of making Startup India a great success. Thank you, Prakashji, for all the good work you have done. Prashant has really been somebody who's giving a lot of confidence when we are thinking big. We have Sanjay Bigchandani, who's really the person who originally started working on, along with Archana Jangidar, first on the, I think we had tried to clone the Finland slush, the slush that was happening in Finland. I'd come back after a visit and I said, what the hell, these small countries attract so much talent, attract so many people. Why should India be left behind? So with very limited resources, but with a lot of passion, Sanjeev and Archana set up the slush program at Oberoi in Gurugram. And then, of course, the startup Mahakumbh last year was, if I may say, a very, very pivotal moment for the startup ecosystem, because it truly showcased to the world what India can do, what India aspires to do, and what India will do in the Amrit Kal as we persevere to make India a developed nation, a Viksit Bharat by 2047. We are really happy to have Sanjay Nair, the president of ASSOCHAM, also join us. Somebody who's very much into the startup ecosystem, both as, for a change, the man behind the success of Falguni Nair, who runs or owns Nykaa. Sanjeev, did you put in some money in Nykaa in the initial rounds? If you're so sad about it, we can take it over from you. But somebody who's also through Sorin Venture Capital now supporting sustainability in a big way and continuing to be a part of the financing ecosystem of startups. We have my colleague, Ms. Bhatnagar, Special Secretary Designate. In fact, Satya is also now Secretary Designate, soon to be Secretary. Two very, very committed officials who've really done the Commerce and Industry Ministry proud with their positivity, their proactive approach, and the ever-smiling demeanor that both of them bring to the table. And thank you, Mr. Majumdar, for your leadership through FICCI. We have so many illustrious friends here off the dais. We have Arin Gupta, we have Aman Gupta, Anjali Bansal. Kya baat hai? Too many Bansals and Mittals and Guptas here. But paisa to चाहिए ना business के लिए. We have Shraddha Sharma over there. So many friends who have been a part of this ecosystem and done some really pioneering work, which encourages both us in the government and I'm sure hundreds and thousands of young men and women to think big, to think out of the box and work towards a better future for the nation, for their families, and for the people of India. In fact, I look upon all of you present in this room, part of the startup family, as agents of change. And I believe you are going to change the future of India. You are the people who are going to define the India growth story. The job creators sitting in this room are going to change the mindset that unfortunately we inherited over years of government interference in businesses and processes. And I believe, as I was seeing in that video, 9 baad, 9 hue na? 9 baad from no to yes. It's a very fitting commentary. No has become yes now. तो 10वें साल में तो I think 10 का दम होना चाहिए. और इस 10वें साल में, as we have entered the decade of the Startup India vision of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, as we have grown from just about 400 startups 9 years ago to 157,000 startups today, as we have grown from a small scale, just a little bit of technology support, just a little bit of service providing that the startup ecosystem used to visualize, to a system that spans digitech, health tech, agri-tech, fintech, big data, artificial intelligence, data analytics, across different sectors. As we look around at the vibrant startup ecosystem, as we look at the success stories with over 115, possibly now 118 unicorns, and hardly a handful who did not do well once they became unicorns. Most unicorns have done phenomenally well. And I think there can be no better proof of this than the fact that we had 76 IPO offerings in calendar 2024. On my behalf and on behalf of the government of India and on behalf of Prime Minister Modi, I would like to reaffirm our unwavering commitment to the faster growth of the India startup ecosystem, our commitment to handhold you, to work with you shoulder to shoulder, provide the policy initiatives to support your work, to encourage the entrepreneurial spirit that you all bring to the table, and make India a global leader in innovation and technology-driven growth. The India growth story, and I've just come in here from a meeting with the president of Singapore, and he was wondering how we look at India in the Amrit Kal, fast forward progressing into a developed nation. How we are imagining a country with a $4 trillion economy becoming a $35 trillion economy by 2047, so that no child in the country is left wanting of the basic needs of life, is left to be without his desires, the aspirations that each child wants and looks up to. And I was explaining to him that if you look at the India story 30 years ago, we were 1/10 of what we are today. The GDP of India was barely 350 odd billion dollars. We have grown to $4 trillion economy. But that was during a period of great political instability in the country, largely, It was a period where governments did not have consistent policies, where the banking system went through severe crisis, at least twice to my memory. Sanjay Nair may be able to educate us whether it was more often than that. Period where India moved to become a fragile five economy by the time we came to 2014 and was really looked down upon by most of the developed world. And from that position, we are today entering the Amrit Kal on the strength of very strong macroeconomic fundamentals. We are working with a set of people who are driven by passion, commitment, and aspiration. We are producing the world's largest number of STEM graduates every year, students of science and technology, maths and engineering. And by the way, 43% of them are women, which makes us even doubly proud about the increasing role of women in our economy, in our growth story. So much so that today, almost half of the startups have a co-founder as a woman or a director as a woman. And I'm seeing more and more women of substance coming up with bright ideas, coming up with the entrepreneurial bug, and making India proud of our sisters and our daughters. Incidentally, as we stand at the cusp of major geopolitical change in the world, as we stand before a world full of challenges, as we look at the newer technologies and the potential impact it would have on our lives, particularly through artificial intelligence and the growth of newer ways of doing work in many parts of the world, India does not fight shy either of competition or of taking the bull by the horns, of being able to compete with the rest of the world on equal terms. And our entrepreneurs, our young startups are willing to accept any challenge that the world brings to the fore. Our young entrepreneurs are confident of adopting any new technologies that the world has to offer and maybe better it, maybe go one step ahead of it. I'm very confident that given the extraordinary vision that Prime Minister Modi has brought to the nation, the encouragement he has given to our startups and young men and women through a variety of his engagements, including the last one on the 12th of this month, just before Makar Sankranti and Lodi, when he met with 3,000 Viksit Bharat ambassadors, young boys and girls coming from across the country, every state, every union territory of the country, chosen through a competitive process, bubbling with excitement. And when Prime Minister Modi spent 6 hours hearing their story, hearing their vision of Viksit Bharat at 2047, engaging with them and their ideas, I think the resilience of each of these Viksit Bharat ambassadors, the resilience of all of us as a nation, got double the energy that we had. And we're today willing to take on any challenge that comes before us. And I can assure you the government will work shoulder to shoulder with each one of you, with each of our entrepreneurs with new ideas, innovative ways of doing things, ideas to change the way we work, ideas to promote ease of doing business, ideas to make our lives better and more efficient, ease of living. The hard work that all of you entrepreneurs and startups bring to the table, the support that our investors give through investing, as we read just now, nearly 13 lakh crores of startup funding in the last 9 years. That's almost 150, 175 billion dollars. And Mr. Prashant was just telling me that in an average year, we receive $15 billion in the startup ecosystem. In a good year, it could go up to 22 or $25 billion. And I promise you, we're going to have excellent support now also from domestic investors who are more and more aligning themselves with the Startup India vision, who are more and more understanding the capabilities of young India, of the people sitting before me, and are recognizing the value proposition that you bring to the table. I think the success of the Startup India mission also can be attributed to some of the funding instruments like the Fund of Funds scheme that was very ably administered by SIDBI and financed by the Government of India, which worked as a transformative tool to mobilize private capital, particularly to support startups in the tier 2 and tier 3 cities of India. I'm also delighted that our private equity and venture capital evangelists and funds have been working to promote startups from ideation right up to execution. And the different stages of your journey towards success has different financing instruments, which all our startup venture capitalists and funders are looking very seriously at. Through the Bhaskar platform, we are trying to connect the startups with mentoring, with financial instruments and financiers, and also help you connect with other startups across the country with similar interests so that we can really bring more vibrancy and more interconnection between the startups of India and the rest of the world, and intersect the startups within the country. Friends, this is our time, and let us not miss the bus. Let us all work to take the country forward. Let us all work with a new spirit, a new confidence that I see in each one of you. It's very auspicious that we also have the Prayagraj Mahakumbh, and soon after that, we're going to have the Startup Mahakumbh. I don't know where the name came from. Who was the person who gave this name originally? I gave it. Enough. I didn't mean it to have the religious connotation. If at all I give it, I suspect it must have been only to get the entire ecosystem on board. Just like the Mahakumbh at Prayagraj gets the entire society connected through faith. I think the Startup Mahakumbh gives us an opportunity across the value chain to get people onboarded, to get people at one venue. I'm told the largest startup gathering used to be in Dubai in the past, maybe 1500, 1800 startups. It amazes me, a small country, hardly any people, hardly any startups. The world's largest startup show be in Dubai. I hope my good friend Dr. Thani is not listening to this. I'll have a problem the next time I see him. But truly, this is rightfully the place where we should have a startup market. And this year, we will have over 2,500 startups at the Startup Mahakumbh starting in April, first week of April. And I'm just advised that 3rd April will be for business visitors until lunchtime on the 4th of April, and post lunch on 4th and all of the 5th, we will open it up to the public so that your success stories, your ideas, your work, your self-confidence, your ability to think out of the box, your innovations will encourage many more young men and women to also experiment with the unknown, to also look at becoming job creators instead of job seekers. I think it's very appropriate that the world's largest startup Mahakumbh should be in India, because that will be a confluence of ideas, a confluence of talent, a confluence of opportunities. And to my mind, this is what will showcase to the world the unfolding story of Bharat. I was also very happy to launch the Prabhav Facebook and the Bharat Startup Grand Challenge. Mr. Prashant also has some newer ideas for the Grand Challenge, which he's going to discuss in the Startup Advisory Council meeting. We'll wait for hearing some more, some even bigger and more ambitious challenge that he's toying with, and I hope funding also. Like laughter is acceptance or confusion. But friends, very proud of all the good work that you have all done. I think we'll all have to work towards an inclusive India where everybody gets equal opportunity. Everybody gets a chance to experiment with ideas. Everybody gets an opportunity to dream big, think big, aspire big, and work towards each one's passion, each one's vision. We will be at the forefront of cutting edge technologies. We will be a part of the global effort to address the challenge of climate change. We will be coming up with innovative ideas for almost everything that is done. And I'm sure, what is that old song? जब आपका मिले सुर मेरा तुम्हारा, जब आप सबका सुर, मेरी तो आवाज बहुत खराब है, तो आई एम द रॉन्ग फेलो टू बी सेइंग दिस, पर जब आप सबका सुर मिल जाए और सरकार और आप सबके बीच में ऐसा समन्वय हो जाए कि आपकी बात हम सुन सके, हम उस पर काम कर सके, हम लगातार आपके साथ इस बड़े दृष्टिकोण को लेके, इस बड़े विजन को लेके आपके साथ काम करने के लिए तत्पर रहे। जैसा मैं कई बार देखता हूं कि प्रधानमंत्री मोदी से बड़ा स्टार्टअप कोई नहीं हो सकता। हर कैबिनेट मीटिंग में, हर एंगेजमेंट में कुछ ना कुछ इनोवेटिव नया आइडिया लेके सरकारी काम को कैसे बदलाव की तरफ लेके जाना, ये उनकी विशेषता रही। आप जेम को देख लीजिए, सत्या जो यहाँ पे बैठे हैं, हमारा जो दफ्तर है वाणिज्य भवन, जहाँ पे जितेन और हम सब बैठते हैं, वो दफ्तर क्या था? बाखड़े थे, बैरक्स, और उन बाखड़ों में एक दफ्तर चलता था, डायरेक्टर जनरल ऑफ सप्लाईज एंड डिस्पोजल, DGSND। भ्रष्टाचार का गढ़ था वो। मैं भी एक बार युवा अवस्था में, जब मैंने फैक्ट्री स्टार्ट की थी 40 साल पहले, मैं भी आया था अपने प्रोडक्ट्स को रजिस्टर करने, वॉचमैन के आगे नहीं जा पाया क्योंकि मुझे रास्ता तरीका तभी आता नहीं था। प्रधानमंत्री मोदी जी ने आते ही कहा, सरकार में 2014 में आते ही कहा, इस सब चीजों की क्या जरूरत है, पूरी दुनिया आगे चली गई है, अब टेक्नोलॉजी का जमाना है, क्यों नहीं सरकार का भी एक ई-कॉमर्स प्लेटफॉर्म होना चाहिए। और उसमें से उन्होंने कल्पना की गवर्नमेंट ई मार्केट प्लेस की। पहला निर्णय किया, DGSND को बंद किया। जब तक वो चलता रहता तो जेम कभी सफल नहीं हो पाता। DGSND ऑफिस को ताला लगाया, उसके नए प्लान्स बने। 2018 में प्रधानमंत्री जी ने शायद 22 जून 2018 में भूमि पूजा की। पूरे कोविड के दिनों में वहां पे 2-2.5 साल कंस्ट्रक्शन हुआ। प्लान्स वगैरह फाइनलाइज और अप्रूव होने के बाद मुझे लगता है एंड ऑफ 19 में लगभग हमने काम शुरू किया था। मैं हर हफ्ते जाता था देखने के काम की गति खराब ना हो। ये भी एक उनकी विशेषता रही है, हर चीज को मॉनिटर करना, लोगों को जवाबदेही बनाना। ये भारत मंडपम का रिव्यू तो मैंने 120 बार से ज्यादा किया, हर हफ्ते मोर देन 120 रिव्यूज टू मेक दिस हैपन। तो टास्क मास्टर मैं नहीं हूं, मेरे पीछे कोई और है। और आज एक तरफ जेम शुरू हुआ है, जिसका मुझे लगता है पिछले साल 4 लाख करोड़ का टर्नओवर हुआ। 4 लाख करोड़ की सरकारी खरीद 100% ट्रांसपेरेंसी के साथ, equal opportunity for everybody, including our startups, to provide their offerings on GEM. और उनको तो शायद हमने रियायत भी दी है काफी। स्टार्टअप रनवे बनाया है जिसमें चार्जेस भी कम है, शायद चार्जेस कम है कि नहीं, मैं तो अनाउंस कर दूं, आप चेक कर लीजिए, अगर नहीं है तो महाकुंभ के पहले कम कर दीजिए। और क्राइटेरिया जो क्वालिफाइंग क्राइटेरिया उसको भी सरल रखा है स्टार्टअप्स के लिए। तो एक तरफ तो जेम पोर्टल ने सरकारी खरीद को बदला नए सोच के साथ, इसीलिए मैं पीएम को स्टार्टअप कहता हूं। ही हैज टू गो टू, ही इज द मिनिस्टर इन वेटिंग फॉर द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ सिंगापुर। और दूसरी तरफ वहां पे वाणिज्य भवन जो बिल्डिंग बनाई उससे और समय पे बनी और बजट के अंदर बनी, उल्टे शायद 8-10 करोड़ रुपया बचा ही लिया था बजट से। हमने 4 गुना तो नहीं किया ना, हमने बजट से खर्चा बचा ही दिया। और आज जो वहां पे बिल्डिंग बनी है वो दर्शाती है पूरे दुनिया को कि अब भारत बदल रहा है, भारत की माइंडसेट, भारत की सोच बदल रही है। अब वो पुराने घिसे पिटे सरकारी दफ्तर नहीं रहेंगे भारत। आप सेंट्रल विस्टा में देखते होंगे नई बिल्डिंगें आ रही हैं। पूरे सरकारी दफ्तर को एफिशिएंट बनाना, मॉडर्न बनाना, ये नई सोच के साथ अब भारत उभर रहा है। और बाय द वे इसमें भी इकोनॉमिक केस है, ऐसा नहीं है कि सरकारी पैसा खर्च के सिर्फ पुराने ऑफिसेस को बदल के नए ऑफिसेस, अच्छे ऑफिसेस में जा रहे हैं। एफिशिएंसी और इफेक्टिवनेस तो सुधरेगी, लेकिन ये सब ऑफिसेस जब नए आ जाएंगे तो सालाना 1000 करोड़ रुपए का जो हम रेंट पे करते हैं सरकार, जो अलग अलग पूरे दिल्ली के अंदर फैले हुए अलग अलग ऑफिसेस में सरकारी ऑफिसेस भाड़े पे लिए हुए, उस पे 1000 करोड़ रुपए जो सालाना रेंट दिया जाता है वो बचेगा। और जो खर्चा हुआ है उसका ब्याज पकड़े तो उससे आधा भी नहीं खर्चा होगा। तो प्रधानमंत्री हर एक चीज जो करते हैं वो पूरी सोच के साथ कि कल कोई वेंचर फाइनेंसर या इंटरनेशनल फाइनेंसिंग बॉडी ये ना बोले कि सरकार पैसा खराब कर रही है। जब वो इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर बनाते हैं, जब रेलवे को सुधार करते हैं, एयरपोर्ट को डबल करते हैं, जब पोर्ट की कैपेसिटी डबल होती है, जब स्टैच्यू ऑफ यूनिटी आती है जिससे लाखों लोग टूरिस्ट के नाते वहां आके एक आदिवासी क्षेत्र को एक प्रोग्रेसिव और डेवलप्ड रीजन बनाते हैं, जब प्रयागराज में महाकुंभ होता है या काशी विश्वनाथ के मंदिर का पूरा पुनर्वास होता है, उसका रिहैबिलिटेशन किया जाता है, या महाकाल के उज्जैन में पूरी तरीके से उसको एक नया रिलीजियस टूरिज्म का डेस्टिनेशन, जहाँ पहले जो श्रद्धालु जाते थे उससे 10 गुना ज्यादा आज श्रद्धालु जाते हैं। ये सब चीजें एक प्रकार से देश की अर्थव्यवस्था को भी बढ़ा रही हैं, आप सबके लिए ढेर सारे अवसर तैयार कर रही है, गरीबों को गरीबी से निकाल रही है, एक उज्जवल भविष्य दे रही है, हर परिवार की रोजमर्रा की जरूरतों को पूरा कर रही है, जिससे आगे चल के देश के 140 करोड़, और हमारा तो युवा देश है, हमारा तो एवरेज एज 28-29 साल है, हमारा युवा देश नई ऊंचाइयों पे पहुंचे। हमें मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में आगे बढ़ना है, हमें डिजिटल टेक्नोलॉजी में आगे बढ़ना है, हमें दुनिया के साथ व्यापार बढ़ाना है, हमें देश में अच्छी गुणवत्ता, अच्छी क्वालिटी को प्रमोट करना है। बहुत सारे काम बाकी है और ये तभी संभव होंगे, ये तभी सफलता से हम कर पाएंगे जब आप और हम सब मिलके इस देश के 140 करोड़ लोगों के भविष्य को अपनी जिम्मेदारी समझ के, our duty, our responsibility to the less privileged sections of society, जब हम इंक्लूसिव ग्रोथ की तरफ अपने आइडियाज को प्रमोट करेंगे तो मेरा मानना है कि दुनिया की कोई ताकत भारत को विकसित, प्रबुद्ध और समृद्ध बनाने से 2047 में जब हम 100 वर्ष आजादी के मनाएं, तब ये देश नई ऊंचाइयों पे हो, उससे कोई रोक नहीं सकेगा। आप सब आए, आपको बहुत बहुत शुभकामनाएं, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद।
So we truly had goosebumps listening to you, and we all are committed to building Bharat in becoming a developed nation by 2047. Uh, as we near the conclusion of this remarkable event, I would now like to invite Srimati Archana Jagidar ma'am, member of the National Startup Advisory Council, to extend the vote of thanks and express our collective gratitude to all dignitaries, speakers, esteemed guests, and startups who have contributed to the success of the startup ecosystem in our country. Welcome, ma'am.
The minister, sir, is a tough act to follow, but I'll do my best. I have to thank everyone, which is a very, very important thing. I think gratitude should be the cornerstone of everything that we do. So, good evening, everyone. National Startup Day has been a momentous occasion dedicated to celebrating the entrepreneurs and the innovators who have played a pivotal role in transforming India's economy and society. I think it's really a very, very big achievement. I think we should all give ourselves a round of applause. With initiatives like the District Outreach Program and the Bhaskar platform, we are unlocking entrepreneurial potential and enhancing collaboration across the country. The government's focus on the national deep tech startup policy, along with global partnership and support for manufacturing startups, ensures that India remains at the forefront of innovation and growth. The day reflects the unyielding spirit of entrepreneurship, and as Startup India marks its 9th anniversary, we proudly acknowledge the incredible journey that has established India as a global hub of innovation. I think that deserves another round of applause, everyone. So, first and foremost, I would like to express our deepest gratitude to Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, whose visionary leadership and unwavering belief in the power of innovation laid the very foundation of Startup India. His commitment to entrepreneurship has turned India into a global startup powerhouse, making this day a source of immense pride and inspiration for all of us. None of us would have been here had this day not happened 9 years ago. Shri Piyush Goyal ji, Honorable Union Minister of Commerce and Industry, for his relentless advocacy of Indian startups, both domestically and internationally, and for the key initiatives launched today, the Prabhav Facebook, the Bharat Startup Grand Challenge, and the Startup Mahakumbh for this year, the curtain raiser for it. Shri Jitendra Prasad, Honorable Minister for State for Commerce and Industry, Electronics and Information Technology, for his dedicated effort in leveraging technology to empower and uplift startups. Shri Amardeep Singh Bhatia, Secretary DPIIT, for his exceptional leadership, sir, in shaping the ecosystem and growth of startups across India. Shri Sanjeev ji, Joint Secretary DPIIT, for his steadfast and my friend, for his steadfast leadership in crafting policies that foster a thriving startup environment and bring innovation to the grassroots across India. As we unveil the curtain raiser for Startup Mahakumbh for this year, scheduled for April, I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to everyone in the organizing committee. Some of them are sitting here for their vision and commitment for ensuring the event's success. To everyone present today, to each one of you, I want to thank you for your enthusiasm, participation, unwavering support. Your involvement is essential in ensuring that India continues on its path of innovation and entrepreneurship, making us all proud of our nation's ever-growing startup success story. So once again, I'd like to thank everyone and really look forward to seeing everyone at Startup Mahakumbh. Thank you.
Thank you so much. May I kindly request the startups to be seated here because the dignitaries will leave first, and then thank you so much for your patience.
I run a startup. ये कहने में फील तो बहुत आता है, पर एक सच ये भी है कि
पहले हमें नो सुनने की आदत हो गई थी। जब भी कुछ नया तो नो।
कॉलेज के बाद पापा को